Alright, so I've got Ozito's laser rangefinder, and what we're going to do is open it up, have a look at the tool, and then we're going to test it out. We'll grab a few measurements with this tool, and then I'll compare it with an actual tape measure, and we'll see how accurate it is. And after that, I want to be a bit rough with it, drop it a few times, throw it around, and then do the same test again, and see if it can still measure accurately after it's been dropped and knocked around a few times, because chances are if you are using one of these, you may drop it now and then. So we want to make sure it still works if you do drop it. Now for starters, this does cost $50. It was the cheapest laser rangefinder that I did find in Bunnings, and it comes with 2 AAA batteries, which is what you need to run it. So if you don't know much about this tool, it's basically a digital tape measure. You can butt it up against an object and it shines a laser, and it will give you an accurate measurement to where that laser is shown to. It's got a few different features as well. You can get your single measurements. You can also use this to work out areas of a room, the volume of a room. And on the back of the package here, it says the working range is up to 25 meters. And looking at the package, there's no discrepancies saying it could be within 3 mil up to that measurement. Most other laser rangefinders I've used have a 1mm tolerance up to roughly 10 to 15 meters. And then they say after 10 to 15 meters, it normally measures within 3mm. So we want to see how accurate this is at a short distance, and then try to do something a little bit further, a bit longer, and see how accurate it is then. All right, so let's open this up and chuck the batteries in. Actually, here we go. On the back of the tool, it does say class 2 accuracy, and that it's got a tolerance of 3mm. Now, truthfully, I was expecting that, especially if we were measuring up to 20 meters. If we were measuring between 1 to 2 meters though, and it wasn't millimeter accurate or within 1mm, then we will start to have a few issues. I'm hoping they've got that just to kind of cover themselves, so I'm hoping it is a bit more accurate than that when we are measuring closer distances. All right, let's have a play around with this together. It's my first time using this. All right, so if we go through the settings, we can see we're working out area there, and obviously we can just use this and get 2 different measurements from a room, and it will automatically calculate the area. If I go to the next setting, we've got the volume. So that means just 3 different measurements. You get that extra measurement, and it will also automatically calculate the volume. All right, so having those features are useful, but the one thing we just want to test is how accurate the measurement is. All right, there we go. I hope this doesn't break my camera, but there's a little red laser that it does shine. And I don't know if you're picking this up behind me, but that is actually really, really easy to read. There we go. It took me a second to work out, but we do have that main button at the top, which is the off button. Press it once and it will activate the laser. So we've got the laser there. If I press it again, it will take that measurement. So I'm going to do that again. And that's saying 1720. And if you can see that, we've actually got 2 measurements stored there. So I can do the 1720, and then if I take another measurement just straight down to the ground, and we can see as well that the display shows the most 2 recent measurements. If I take a third one now, it's going to overwrite the second last measurement. Anyway, I don't think there's too much more to really talk about with this tool. I think we just need to get straight into testing it and see how accurate it is. All right, we're going to start off easy, and I'm just going to do a measurement between these 2 walls here. So we'll get the tape out first and we'll see what it is. All right, so with the tape out, it is exactly 2691. And we'll get the laser measurer, butt it up against there, and we'll just move it until that laser is exactly on that bottom plate. Now if I press that button, it's locked in at 2696. I'm going to pull the camera across here. I just want to have a really good look at this, because that is a huge difference. What I might do is, let's run this tape out and let's lock the tape there. So we can definitely see that that tape is hardened on this side. Let's get up, let's have a closer look. All right, so that tape is definitely hardened on that side. And if we come over here, there you can see the measurement. That's definitely 2691. And I hope you can see this. We're going to turn the laser back on. That is butting up hard to that bottom plate. And I'm going to hold this with 2 hands just to make sure it doesn't move on us. You can see that red laser line right next to the tape. Hold that steady and I'm going to lock that measurement in. Don't know if you can see that, but that says 2695. 2695, that means we're out by 4 mil already. It does tell us in the back here that we have a discrepancy of about 3 mil. And I thought that would come into play when we start doing bigger measurements, such as 20 meters. The most common use for a tool like this would be doing a fix and you're measuring skirting boards inside. If you're doing a skirting board and this is giving you measurements that are 4 mil out, that is a huge concern. For the sake of it, I still want to do a few more tests on it. I want to measure something that's a bit further. We've got this room here, so I might measure all the way to that wall plate there, across to here, and we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna lock the 8 meter tape in place, and we'll get the 5 meter tape going this way. So both of those tapes are hard too. That one's hard in on the other side all the way down there. And if we have a look here, so that's 8 meters, and I'm gonna say the other tape is about 4,170. So we're gonna go 12,170 for this overall measurement. All right, I'm gonna see how easy it is to really see that laser. Actually, that's not too bad. I hope you can see that on the camera. More difficult part is just trying to hold this steady when I press that button, and that's it there. I actually went and got a few measurements there just to make sure my tape wasn't moving, my laser wasn't moving. Don't know if you can read that, but the top one is 12,184 and the bottom one is 12,171. So it did get the perfect measurement, but it's got two separate measurements at about 13 mil off. What I'm gonna do to make it even more accurate is I will extend the tape even further, and I'll measure to that back bit of ply at the very back of this whole stretch. And then that way it's a bit easier to really aim the laser and hit a solid point. Right now I'm struggling to hold the laser steady on that bottom plate, because when I push the button, it's gonna move the laser, it moves that pointer, and that could influence the measurement. I don't know how it would get 12,184 though. I don't know how it would get an extra 13 mil, because if it's missing that plate, it's going above it, and it should be an extra 600 mil. So I'm a bit concerned that that 13 mil could be the play of this laser. The good note is though, we did get one measurement within the mil, but if you're using this to quickly go around and get a whole list of measurements, you probably would just go for the first measurement you had. Actually, what we might be able to do is just button to this. So we'll do 12,170 plus, I'm gonna say that's 1.92 m, 13,262. Let's see how this goes. All right, so the laser's on. We'll butt that in there. And that laser is actually so easy to see. We've got two different measurements there. Firstly, I do want to say, because we're moving it and we are slightly on a few different angles, I'm not expecting this to be perfect. We're just hoping it's close enough. I honestly forgot what measurement we're aiming for, but we've got two measurements and they are within a mil of each other. 13,266 and 13,267. 13,262, that is what we're going off. And I'm going to say that that is probably almost on the money perfect, because the laser wasn't going flat and hitting the bottom plate, and we actually were up around here, so we're going up on a small angle. I think that would have added about 4 or so mil. So far, surprising me. It's almost as if the further distance we go, the more accurate this is. From the measurements we got already though, I think we have learned enough about this tool. It's probably going to be great if you are going through and getting rough measurements for volume, area, just working out materials, working out how big a structure is. I don't think it's going to be accurate enough to use it to get a cutting list and actually work out what size to cut materials at. The reason I picked it up and had a look at it is because of its price range. This thing costs $50 compared to a few of the other brands' versions, which are around $100 to $200. I have used a few other versions and I can say they are a lot more accurate. So I definitely would recommend getting one of those ones if you were going to use this for a fix, or if you're going to use one of these to get measurements to cut. This is probably just good enough to estimate job sizes and work out how much materials you need.